Another Modcast. Welcome into the Auburn Live Show, the Modcast edition, +1 from last year. Got the whole crew here: Jeffrey, Cole, Keith. What's going on, fellas?
Oh, not much, man. Just excited to finally talk about a real football game. You know,
Hey, I can't hear anybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Everyone can see and hear you. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Hello?
Yeah. Yes.
I cannot hear anybody. Do I have this muted or
Can't
something?
hear. All right. Hey, we're getting the kinks out here in week 1.
Let me come back in.
I think we should keep all this in, Zach. Should keep all this in.
Yeah. Let's just roll it.
Yeah, we're not going to edit any of this out for Jeffrey's sake. We're going to just leave it all in. Keith's writing a story about to be up at auburnlive.com. All right, Jeffrey's back. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
I told Zach we're leaving all that in.
Got you.
Just going to leave it all in. Like, delay game, little false start on the first series of the season.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into this. Keith's writing a story. He'll be kind of in minutes, but
hey, have we started to record?
Yeah, we're recording.
Damn it!
So we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave all that in for the fun of it. Yeah, we're going, man. Game week. Auburn Mercer. How you feeling, Jeffrey?
Man, I'm ready, dude. Obviously, I was up late last night. I was up till like 2 o'clock in the morning with these 2024s.
Yeah,
Mercer week. I'm excited, man. You know, I'm sick of the offseason. It's been the longest freaking offseason I can remember. I mean, really, right? Going back to February with the signing class, signing day, the junior day, the failed coup. Just it was one thing after another earlier in the spring. Then you get to the summer, and it was recruits, miss for Auburn. It was roller coaster of emotion for the fans. It was tough to kind of justify people not bitching.
Right.
So I don't know that I've looked forward to a kickoff, a season opener as much as I am for Saturday. Lots to look at. Let's see the evolution of TJ Finley. Let's see the offensive line. Let's see the linebackers. Let's see Owen Popo back. Let's see what this defense. I've got really high expectations for this defense. I think we all do. I think anybody that pays attention to Auburn football has a high expectation for this defense with the new coordinators, the play calling, lot to digest, lot to look at Saturday. So I'm ready, man. I'm ready. All the new guys coming in. Camden Brown potentially. I've always been a big fan of him. I want to see what he's going to be able to do. So big day for me personally.
Yeah, you need Camden to show out, which it sounds like he will. What a good kid, by the way. I've just talking to him a little bit. Like you talked to him more than I have, but pretty cool kid. I mean, pretty well spoken.
He's awesome
for a young guy.
So he's humble. He's very grateful.
Yeah.
He's the kind of kid you want on your team. I use this phrase sometimes for the kids that I love, but if you had 85 Camden Browns, you'd have a damn good roster.
I feel like this offseason has been – so you think it's been long. I feel like it's been short. But that's because the offseason basically it went from the season to coaching – well, that went right into spring ball. And it almost feels shorter to me because there wasn't as much of an offseason. I don't know. It was weird either way.
For the team guy, I could see that absolutely. For the recruiting, man, when it was like every day, it was just a long day. It was – Auburn had these kids on campus. The kids said all the right things. You had like guys. Here's one example. Gerard comes to Auburn. He visits. He leaves. Auburn's at the top. He's not going to make a decision until December. Well, shit, man. And 8 days later, he goes to Arkansas and commits. It was that type of offseason for the recruitniks.
Yeah. What's up, Cole? How you feeling?
Like I said earlier, man, I'm just ready to talk about a football game. I'm with Jeffrey. It feels like the longest. Of course, he's been doing it a lot longer than me. So I've been asking him, like, are all off seasons like this? Is it always like this? It's been long for me too, man. I've just been ready to see what this second year of Brian Harsin team is going to look like. It's a mystery pretty much all the way around. And then you add TJ Finley to the mix. I'm hoping that he has, improved on some of his inaccuracies and things of that nature. And I'm ready to see how he does. And I don't care who the opponent is. He's got to fix some of those things, to be a good starter for Auburn, be a good quarterback. So
yeah,
that's the main thing I'm looking for Saturday. And I'm with Jeffrey on the defense too. I think the defense is going to be pretty good. I don't think that they're going to be, it's going to be hard to tell against Mercer, but moving forward, I think they're going to be pretty good too.
Well, you mentioned it, so let's just start there. Quarterback.
Yep.
Thoughts. I mean, that's kind of where. I mean, it's it's either going to go great or it's going to be the downfall of the season and maybe Brian Harsin at Auburn. But thoughts on the quarterback fall camp? What shocked you? What surprised you? I mean, let's just talk about it.
The one thing that shocked me the most, I'll jump in here, Cole, because that's all I've got, is the mental breakdown of Zach Calzada. That to me was, and this was coming from guys that watched him, and I saw 120-minute. Y'all watched a lot more of him in the 20 minutes that you guys got to see the open practice. But for me, I'm talking to guys who were there and saw it was the lack of confidence that ultimately, from what I've gathered and reading your stuff too, Justin, lack of confidence for Zach and him falling from presumed starter to, clipboard holder. That was shocking to me.
Yeah, I think shocking to everybody. I mean, I can I tried to sort of allude to it, but there's a reason that I wrote about Zach in this going into the summer the way I did, because the internal expectations for Zach was that he was going to come in and be the starter. I'm just telling you, the coaches internally, they were telling people that in the summer, go back to late spring, summer, that was their thought as well, that Zach would come in and that he would end up winning the job. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't bring him in for no reason. And so I think they're probably as surprised, maybe more so than anybody, that it went the way it did. He got off to a bad start. There's a lot of things going on there, but he got off to a bad start. He never recovered after that first scrimmage. And so, but a lot of the stuff I think was off the field. And I don't mean bad. He didn't get in trouble. I'm just saying preparation. There's things I think he could have done in the summer to catch up to TJ's command of the offense. And
you think he took things for granted?
A little bit. I think he got ahead of himself a little bit. I think he's a really talented kid, and I think he just thought, based on what TJ did last year, I mean, TJ wasn't great. So I think he thought he'd come in, he'd be the better quarterback, he'd be the better passer. I think he undervalued just the understanding the offense and all the little things that Harsin looks for that TJ, to his credit, has kind of mastered. I think he undervalued the importance of getting in the playbook and doing all that. They weren't just going to give you the job because maybe you're the better passer, or your ceiling is higher. And I think he undervalued like all that little stuff. And he came in, and then the surprising part was he didn't perform that well the first week. So then it was a combination of not just mental mistakes, but the first scrimmage, inaccurate. And that isn't going to get the job done. I think he was better as the camp went on as a passer, but he got himself in such a hole. But yeah, I do. I think he probably took it for granted a little bit. I do.
You come in and you're pretty much in the mindset that you're going to be the starter. You take that and it affects you mentally when you don't prepare and perform that way. And then probably I don't know if it was the emergence of Robbie Ashford or, a combination of the two, of him and Calzada. But all I heard about Ashford was, man, he's just so athletic. Now, his consistency, his accuracy is not where you want it to be.
Yeah.
But he offers such a different threat to the defense than, these other two guys. And I wonder if Calzada thought, TJ Finley's average, or he was average at best last year. I just have to be a little bit above average to win this job. Yeah. And then Ashford was like, no, big dog, you're going to have to beat me too.
Well, and not to pile on Zach Calzada, who obviously I think Cole, I don't know if you were with me, but I got to talk to him a little bit before Big Cat Weekend. And he's the nicest kid in the world, super friendly, holds himself well, just like TJ Finley, just like Robbie Ashford, if we're being honest. But, Jimbo Fisher really, I don't know, did he put up much of a fight when he left? And so when he left Texas A&M. And so when that happened, when he left A&M, it just seemed to me like, okay, what are people seeing in him that Jimbo doesn't see? And, we can criticize Jimbo Fisher for a lot of things, but he's had 3 quarterbacks go, I think, first round draft picks, 3 or 4 quarterbacks. So that's his position. Now, obviously A&M quarterbacks haven't been great the last few seasons, but that to me was kind of like, well, if this guy has everything, why would A&M let him? And I'm not saying he might not have left anyway, but he knew he wasn't going to be the starter at A&M. So I guess what I'm saying is that I think that I feel bad for Zach in a way, because the minute he landed at Auburn, the hype train really started based off that Alabama game. And, but he had been inconsistent in a lot of other games. And that's not to say he doesn't have potential. I mean, QBs by and large are inconsistent. It's the hardest position to play. But I just kept going back to that, he wasn't going to be the starter at A&M, and why would Jimbo let him get away without a huge fight? To our knowledge, maybe behind the scenes he did put up a huge fight. I don't know. I know what I'm trying to say. I'm not verbalizing it that well right now.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I'll let Cole pop in. I just want to address that because I think that, yes, maybe Jimbo, whether he did or didn't put up a fight, I think Zach wanted a fair opportunity there. He didn't think he was going to get it. There's some things that went on there where he was injured and was willing to play the bowl game. There's some things that went on there internally too that kind of went into his decision to leave. But, take that out of the equation. Even if Jimbo Fisher doesn't think he's good enough to start at Texas A&M, which I don't know that to be true. I just know that he didn't think he was going to get a fair shot, whatever. He's still the Auburn situation is different. He still was looked at as talented enough to win the Auburn job.
Sure.
It's not like, so I think that's where it was a little surprising. And you're right. Zach's an awesome kid. And I want to make sure that people understand, Zach has a great attitude. His energy was fine. He's well liked in the locker room. There's nothing about Zach that's he just was inconsistent out there and wasn't quite what he needed to be and what they thought he'd be to win the job. But I mean, he's a guy that came in, he worked hard. The guys, I'm just telling you, I saw it firsthand. He had really good relationships with those receivers, with those players. Tank Bigsby and him clicked real quick. So that none of that's an issue. It surprised him. Now, if you ask Zach right now, he'd probably still say he should be the starter. He thinks that he did enough. He's disappointed, as any quarterback would be, right? Any quarterback's going to be disappointed in not winning the job. So, Cole, what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, I always go back to, practice. Obviously, whatever Zach Calzada did at Texas A&M before he became the starter, he didn't win that job there against Haynes King either, right? So he comes to Auburn maybe a little bit on a high because he was the quarterback in a win against Alabama. He was the quarterback in a win against Auburn as well. He won that game. So, maybe he was a little bit confident coming in, and it's a cliche, but the whole chip on the shoulder thing with TJ Finley, who's heard all of this press, heard about Zach Calzada, watched them go find 2 more quarterbacks in the portal to try to maybe beat him out eventually. There's something to be said about a chip on the shoulder winning out. It's just something about that attitude. And we know, and we've heard that TJ Finley is a good practice guy too. That's the reason why last year, they didn't have a problem putting him in when Georgia State was, when Auburn was struggling against Georgia State. They put him in because they knew he was prepared, and no problem transitioning to him as the starter when Bo Nix went down too. So we know he's a good practice player. He went out in practice, and now I don't know how I don't know if there'll be a change if he messes up quickly. Maybe they give him a longer leash. That's kind of what I'm curious about. If he comes back out there and he's throwing inaccurate passes, he's overthrowing deep balls, doing those things, they pull him back and they go, well, we know Calzada's done some good things in games before. Do we try him? We know Ashford's athletic. Do we try him? That's what I'm looking for with the quarterback position. It's not going to happen in game one, I don't think. You're going to see, you're probably going to see Robbie Ashford too. But, going down the stretch of the season, do they start to evaluate that again? That's what I'm looking for.
I got a question. Did we as analysts, reporters, fans, did we all put too much stock into one or two performances last year for Zach at Texas A&M and maybe build him up to be more than what the big picture had shown, not just the small picture? Maybe that wasn't fair to Zach as well, because he had a lot of hype. Fans on our board. He was going to be better than Bo, and maybe he will be. It's not, the story isn't written yet, but he came in with a lot of fanfare and a lot of hype, I think, and sometimes that's not fair to the young guy either. They read it, they see it, they feel it, and maybe that feeds to subconsciously feeds to someone's overconfidence. And I'm not saying that was the case here, but so much was put into that one game, and I don't know. I'm just trying to find.
I think there's a couple of factors. Like, I think the Alabama game is one. I think there was some stats that came out that were true. That there were a lot of drops. He suffered from a lot of drops from A&M receivers last season, and that's true. He did. His adjusted completion percentage should have been a lot higher. So that's true. And then I think you have, from an Auburn fan perspective, you have really just excitement of, let's just be really honest, they wanted somebody other than TJ Finley. And so I think it hyped up Calzada maybe more than he should be hyped up, just from an excitement of somebody else is going to come in and win the job that's better than TJ Finley. So I think those three things kind of combined to create this guy that was going to come in and win the job. And look, I'm guilty of it. I wrote about Zach and called him the heavy favorite to win the job. But a lot of that, again, was based on not just what we knew about Zach, what we knew about TJ from last year, but a lot of that was based on internal thinking of that staff, was that he was going to win the job. They weren't like, hey, we'll bring him in and see what happens. They were telling people internally, Zach should come in and win the job. That was absolutely their expectation. And it didn't happen. And they're probably, they're probably sitting back there that first week going, what in the heck? What is going on? I mean,
Justin,
they're probably shocked as anybody.
Justin, how hard is it I can ask one question. How hard is it for a guy that's now third string, who's not going to be getting many reps in practice? How hard is it for him to now kind of stay focused and, you know what I mean? And can he play?
Really
and who's he going to be working with? Did they put him with the scout team? I mean, what's the next step here?
Yeah, I don't even know that, because, when we went out there when they started game prep, Holden was with the scout team. So I don't even know. I don't think he's with the scout team. I just think he's getting very few legitimate reps. And so, that's a big question for Zach, is mentally, where is he at right now? How do you stay in it? How do you stay in it? Because look, Finley, you got to go prove it. TJ Finley's still got to go prove it on the field. And I don't think he'll have a short leash in the first couple of weeks. It sounded like, hey, it's TJ's job. And TJ needs to improve. Like, you really can't have a short leash with TJ or try to rotate guys in games. TJ needs work. If that's your guy, then he needs to get all the reps, because he needs the work too. And so I don't know where Zach gets in the game these first two games. I think it would take lackluster performance the first two games, and then Penn State, a terrible first half, for them to even consider, okay, what are we doing here? I mean, so I'm just not sure where Zach gets in the game these first few games, or following an injury. And that's a really tough place to be for him, coming into Auburn, coming back closer to home, thinking he's going to win this job, and it doesn't turn out. I'm not sure. It's a tough place to be for a college kid.
Where do you? I'm like you now. Auburn's got to find the chemistry on offense before Penn State. I'm leaving in TJ. If TJ Finley's my guy, who he's been named the starter, I'm riding him. I'm letting him take some lumps, man. I'm letting him. He doesn't have a leash as far as I'm concerned, unless he's just tanking, and not in a good way with Tank Bigsby. I think J.D. Pickell from On 3 said it best the other day. And I think we've echoed that sentiment on our shows as well. So that you don't need a quarterback to win you football games this year. Presumably, with the defense he has, you need a quarterback who won't lose you football games. And turnovers, as far as I'm concerned, that's what I'm watching. I'm watching interceptions. I'm watching fumbles. I'm watching. That's what I don't need my quarterback. That's what I don't need TJ Finley to do to allow us to win football games. Manage the game. Don't turn the football over. It's okay to punt. With that defense, it's okay to punt. Just don't lose me the game.
I'm actually going to take a different approach. I mean, maybe I'm the dumb one here, but I actually think they do need him to kind of rise and be that hero, because, you know, I'm looking at that Auburn offense the last few years, and I'm just not seeing a lot of big plays. I mean, I see a lot of good individual talent, and as good as Tank Bigsby is, he's not a guy that rips off a lot of 70-yard touchdown runs. And the receivers, yes, I hear behind the scenes that the staff is excited that they have a lot of potential, but there haven't been many big plays produced by those guys yet. Not a lot of long catches. And I don't think you can go 80 yards in 17 plays more than a few times in an SEC game and expect to win. I think you need big plays. And to have big plays, I think the quarterback is going to have to step up and play a level or two above maybe than just a guy that's a game manager. I don't think a game manager is what wins Auburn games, because we don't know how good the defense is going to be yet. Maybe it'll be great, but I don't know. But even if it is great, you're playing some pretty good offenses that even against a great defense can score 20 to 25 points, which means you've got to put points on the board. And I just don't think handing off and having a guy that's not dynamic at the quarterback position is going to win you any of those big games. And Auburn needs to start winning those big games again. So maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but I think TJ's capable of this. The arm talent is there. There's no question about that. And if he's clearly going to understand the offense better than he did last year. He got in late last year. He wasn't even there for spring practice, if my memory's correct. So he's got that knowledge. And now I think he's won the job. So he's done that part. Now he's got to really elevate. And I think he's going to have to make some special plays. I just don't think 10, 12-yard passes are going to cut it. This is a team that absolutely, positively needs big play potential. That's just my opinion, Jeff. And you and JD.
Oh, no. Managing the game doesn't mean dinking and dunking down the field. It means don't turn the freaking ball over.
No, I
don't care if you can throw it 60 yards down the field and Candy Brown goes and gets it. That's great. Auburn's going to need that. Just don't throw it to the wrong team.
I get that, but if your defense is special, then you look, some of the best Heisman winning quarterbacks threw 10, 12 interceptions. So I feel like if your defense is special, then to me, the opposite is almost in effect, that you can have a guy take chances. But I mean, you're kind of splitting hairs. It's just,
I'll go along with that. Yeah.
I want to see
a happy medium. I mean, there's a happy medium. Like, no, TJ is not going to be expected. He doesn't need to throw for 280 a game, but he can't throw for 160 a game either. Like, there's somewhere in the middle of managing the game, but hitting. I mean, last year the bowl game comes to mind.
Listen,
I mean,
don't perform like Casey Thompson did for Nebraska and throw for 354 yards on 59% completion rate. So he threw all those long balls and he completed 354 yards of passing, but he had twice as many incompletions as he did complete, or almost. He had twice as many turnovers as he did touchdowns. That's what Auburn can't have.
Yeah, and Harsin put up with that. I mean, there's the first thing Harson's telling him is throw it away. It's okay to punt. I mean, that's how Harsin thinks. But I think back to that bowl game. It wouldn't have taken much to beat Houston. If he hits a couple of those deep
right.
Yeah, they win the game. I mean, they were leading that game in the fourth quarter, and there's a couple of passes I remember late on open receivers that if he hits a deep ball, it's a touchdown. And they just hit a couple of those, and Auburn wins that game. Like, he's not going to be asked to do a ton, but he's going to have to hit a few of those big plays. They're going to have opportunities.
That was what Bo struggled with too. Remember how many open deep balls Bo Nix overthrew?
Yeah.
Hey, when I think of playing conservative football, I think of that second half against Alabama, though.
Yeah.
And I feel like, if they do some things a little bit differently, I don't know. I mean, I think we agree on the big picture and disagree just on some of the little details.
That's fair.
There's also like a whole bunch that we don't know. I mean, I'm not to make excuses, but TJ, he injured his ankle in what game did he injure his ankle? Alabama, early in Alabama.
It was the Alabama game. Yeah.
So he played a lot of that game with a hurt ankle. Lost 47 rushing yards that game, which is kind of amazing. And so, like, I haven't seen. I don't know what Finley – like, I don't know what a healthy Finley, experienced, new offense – I don't know what that looks like. I'm kind of curious to see, does he look any different? From what I'm told, he completed about 60% of his passes in fall camp, which is basically what Calzada completed. He also he took the most reps. He threw the most passes of any of the quarterbacks. So because of that, he had the most touchdowns. He also had the most interceptions. He was sacked a decent amount of times. And these are all fall camp stats. I don't know. I'm curious to see what he does. People have made some stuff about him scrambling. I don't know. I mean, is he athletic enough to scramble? Yeah. I don't think that's what Auburn needs him to do. I mean, he's going to make a couple plays running because he's athletic, but I hope he stands in there and delivers the football. He's a big enough guy that he should. That's the thing about Cam Newton, not making the comparison, but a big quarterback, when you're that size, man, you really honestly shouldn't worry that much about the rush. Just stand in there and deliver the football, and it could be an asset. But I don't know what it's going to look like with him and Eric Kiesau calling plays. Like, there's a lot of this that we can't anticipate because it's all new.
Yeah. Can we all agree that picking a starting quarterback when you have three guys of we think similar ability is hard? I mean, think about all the guys. I was chatting with somebody on the board the other day, and you got a guy like Dan Mullen, who's supposedly a QB guru, right? And he had Felipe Franks. He saw hundreds of practices and determined that Felipe Franks was better than Kyle Trask. Okay. Yeah. And it takes Felipe Franks to get hurt for him to realize that, Kyle Trask is twice the player. And so these guys, these coaches, they're smart guys. They know what they're doing. They know their business way better than we do. And they still don't get it right all the time. So it's not over with. We don't know. I mean, but it's hard picking a starting quarterback, and they're trying to balance 100 factors or more and put it all into this equation and try to figure out which guy gives you the best chance to win on Saturday. It's got to be I'd love to have been a fly on the wall in those meetings. Let's put it that way.
Oh, and it says something that it went so far. I mean, it says something that they didn't name the guy, and that, I mean, I would have thought that they were going to name somebody sooner, and they pushed it and just named a guy right before game week. So I think there was a little more thinking that had to do. I think they had to do a little bit more thinking behind the scenes of how's this going to work and who the guy should be. So here's the question. What can they be on offense with Finley and Ashford mixed in packages? Kiesau calling plays, which I think is another thing that's not talked about enough that I'm interested to see how that works. I mean, I don't know what kind of play caller Eric Kiesau is. I have no clue. I mean, Harson's going to be involved in some degree. Like, I don't know how that's going to work. But what kind of offense do you think of Finley? Finley takes 90% of the snaps, mix in Ashford. Can that beat Texas A&M? Can that keep you in big SEC football games? I mean, is that a good mix? Is that a good combination? Does Ashford bring enough creativity to the offense if you get him in there at times and make plays? Like, it's interesting. I have no idea what the answer is. I'm not confident. I'm not really confident in any of that, by the way, like any of that working. I'm very much a wait and see kind of. I can be cynical at times. I'm not confident in any of that working really well at the moment.
No, I'm not either. I'm not. Jeffrey said it a bunch of times on the live shows and whatnot that two quarterback systems are irritating because it seems like a guy, you need time to give a guy rhythm, get into rhythm throwing the football. And if TJ Finley's your guy, stay with him, that. And at Auburn, if you've watched Auburn over the years, you've been burned by the 2-quarterback system a couple times where it's not working and messing up the flow and everything of the offense. So I am cautious about a 2-quarterback system. I don't love that thought. But the two guys are so drastically different. No, yeah, I'm not saying it would be. Just if they did throw Ashford in for packages and that. Yeah.
The only reason I don't like them is they don't work. that's the one thing I don't like about them. They're fine if they work.
Yeah.
Or at least in my experience, in my experience, they don't work. They don't work at Auburn.
The Leak Tebow one is probably one of the few that you look back on, and that seemed to they mixed Tebow in just perfectly.
Yeah,
with Chris Leak, but very few times does that play out, because you got to have two guys that it's just got to work perfectly. The mindset of both has got to be perfect in and out. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to do. Very difficult thing.
Well, who was it? Chris Todd and Cody Burns. Who was Cody? Cody would come in there.
Well, they did it well.
No,
let's see.
Yeah, he was before Chris.
Brandon Cox, when he was a freshman. When Cody was a freshman in 2007, they put him in some Wildcat stuff with Brandon Cox.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah. Because there were some people frustrated with Brandon Cox wanting Cody to even maybe start a game.
Oh, for sure.
In 2007. And
Brandon got raw dog. I mean, he got the raw end of that deal. But yeah, we were talking about going back to the Tuberville days. The 2-quarterback system in Auburn that I can remember has been cringy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
right.
This guy takes your team down the field 70 yards, gets to the 9-yard line, and then you bring in another quarterback to run this 10-yard offense, and I don't get it.
It's not great. Think about the first game.
Well, I know
the Clemson game.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
How many guys played?
I wasn't going to go there, Justin. 4.
The dumbest things I've ever seen in a football game.
Yeah, if you're counting Chandler Cox, it's 4, I think.
Yes.
But yeah,
now, if you want to put Ashford in,
play. I mean,
go ahead, Cole. Go ahead, buddy.
The reason he could play, the reason it seems likely that he would play at some capacity is because they've got to be getting frustrated watching him, not be able to scramble, not be able to use his legs in these non-live quarterback situations. I would just think they want some film on him. They want to see how he handles the moment, how he can make plays with his legs. If it's good enough that he's, scrambling and getting these big gains, then they probably consider using him more. And I think they want the tape on him. That's just what, my view on it. And I don't know how much he'll play, but I think it's very likely because of that.
And now that I am all in favor for, and listen, what the hell do I know? I'm a recruiting guy. But in this first game, you are expected to win handily. Vegas has got the line, I think, at 31.5 last I checked.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you can have a big third quarter lead and you want to get that number 2 guy some work with this offense and let him play the fourth quarter. Get TJ out of there. Get Tank out of there. Let's see what these twos have got. Play them in the fourth quarter. I just don't want to see TJ move the team down the field, get to the 12-yard line, and bring in Ashford in this special package. Only if it doesn't work. Only if it doesn't work. If it works, hell yes.
Geniuses.
Yeah.
Geniuses.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. From what I understand, it's some maybe 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, like maybe you bring Ashford in and
just imagine if it didn't work though. Dude, you would get booed out of the stadium if it didn't work. Right?
There's a thin line. If this quarterback thing doesn't work, if Finley's if he's not great and Calzada's sitting over there, there's a thin line on this thing on the leash there. But he's gonna stick with Finley. Like he's
good.
He has to. I mean, if that's your guy,
he's earned it.
He has to play all these snaps because he needs them. You just can't.
Absolutely.
You can't use. I mean, it would be unfair to Finley in all reality. If let's say you play these first 2 games and you try to fit all these quarterbacks in, Finley's going, hold on, I won the fall camp battle And now the game starts and we're still doing the battle thing. Like I thought I won the job. I need the reps. It's got to stop at some point, and you got to go until it's disaster. Like last year against Georgia State, Brian Harsin had no choice. Bo was playing terrible. He was making bad decisions. And he didn't want to pull Bo Nix. Bo Nix was the best option they had to win the game, but he didn't want to pull him. But he had to. He had to make a change, and he put Finley in there. Yeah. Somehow Finley led that drive, which is still kind of amazing. And Bo was pissed. I mean, Bo was pissed. It was a they had to talk about it after the game internally. Like they had to have a conversation because Bo let his emotions get the best of him, and it was an issue. But I think it would take that kind of dire circumstance to, like San Jose State, they're down, they're losing that game, and Finley's just playing horrible. And maybe Ashford's played a couple of drives and done nothing. Maybe you think about Zach, but it would take some pretty dire circumstances, I think, for Zach to get in the game, or for Finley to not be 100% the guy. But
yeah.
Man, I want my starting quarterback to be in a groove, to have the chemistry with that offense by the time Penn State comes around. And however many reps, however many snaps, however many drives that takes between now and September the 17th, sign me up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not worried about Robbie Ashford getting snaps. I'm not worried about Zach Calzada's feelings being hurt. I need my quarterback who won the damn battle to be ready to go when Penn State comes to town.
Yeah, I think that's the attitude. What if Finley just comes out and is just like, just throwing darts? When it comes out, it's like 70% first two games, and I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean, it'd be cool to see. But man, what if he comes out and is just firing passes all over the field and looks great? And I don't think we'll know anything until Penn State, but it sure would be something for his confidence to come out and execute this thing for the first two games. Yeah. Get the doubt, get the fans back on your side. And roll into Penn State with a ton of confidence.
I mean, isn't this the same Mercer program that almost beat Auburn and Jarrett Stidham's first couple of games?
Yeah, they came in. What year was that? Yeah. Was that 18?
And yes, and the San Jose State in the same San Jose State program that handed Brian Harsin his last loss at Boise State. I think there are a couple interesting games. I mean, I don't know how much you think, how much can you learn from these games? But, if you lose them, you can learn a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I think that Auburn's got to be mentally prepared for these games. I think they'll be exciting for fans too, because there's so much newness with the team right now. But I agree.
It was 24-10. What's crazy is it was 2017, which that Auburn team developed into, I think, one of the better. I mean, by the end of the year, that was one of the best. I thought it was Malzahn's best overall team the last two games. I mean, the way they were playing against Bama and Georgia, I thought that team was better than the 13 team. That team was really damn good, and they beat Mercer 24-10 in early September, which is shocking. And San Jose State could be tricky.
It was closer than the score too, Justin.
Yeah. So San Jose State, they're picked well. I mean, they're picked down the Mountain West, but the way Auburn is, the offense, I mean, we don't know. If Finley comes out and doesn't play well and that offense isn't clicking, could those games be close? Could those games be in the third quarter where you're sitting there like, guys, like, if we don't make some plays, like, this is kind of still a competitive ball game. That'd be scary. It's a scary thought against Mercer. I don't care. Mercer, whatever, but that's a scary thought if you're Auburn. With this schedule, if you're in the third quarter against Mercer and you're in a legitimate ball game, that's worrisome. That's going to be really, really worrisome.
It is, because we don't know the patterns yet of Brian Harsin teams. In other words, with Gus Malzahn teams, we knew they were slow starting teams. In 2013, barely beat Washington State, barely beat Mississippi State. By the end of the season, was just lights out, fantastic. And then in 2017, you barely beat Mercer and got a little bit better and a little bit better. And then by the end of the season, I guess they blew a game at LSU early in the year where they had the big lead, if my memory's right, but got a little bit better and a little bit better. And then all of a sudden took off. We don't know the pattern of Harsin's teams yet. So sometimes if you only beat a lower level program by 20 earlier in the season, it might not mean so much. With Gus, you almost came to expect it in a sense, But I don't know. You're right, Justin. It's going to be interesting. Jeff, I agree with you. You'd love to know TJ Finley's your guy going into that third game. Though You don't want any doubt, not a shadow of doubt, not a shadow of doubt.
I'm with you guys on that too. The Mercer team, and I've broken them down. Done a couple breakdowns of what they do offensively, defensively. Put up 600 yards of offense on a team that's usually a pretty good opponent for them.
Who was that, Cole, last week?
Defense held them under 300. Morehead State. And defensively, they held them under 300 yards. So they'll come in with a little bit of confidence from that. Obviously, they know they're the big underdog here.
A lot.
But they also have and they have a good quarterback, by the way, a guy that started at Coastal Carolina for 2 years and then got injured. And Grayson McCall, who's their starter at Coastal Carolina now, is the guy that took his place. He ends up going to the transfer portal and going to Mercer. So, a couple of good players. Some opportunities to present some problems for Auburn here in that first game. And when Auburn's trying to get all the new guys together, Finley, new guys on defense, your whole safety group looks pretty different. Linebacker group is young with Owen Papo there, so I'm with you, Keith, on it being interesting. I don't think it's just one of these, cupcake blowouts from the start. I think it could be, but before kickoff, I'm looking at it as this is going to be a little bit of a test for a new look Auburn team under Harsin.
Yeah, here's the question, though. Is it more of a test for the Auburn offense or the Auburn defense, which we haven't really talked about? And Mercer can score points, we think.
Yeah.
But, right. I mean, what is it? We're talking about what, the challenges of the Auburn offense and making sure the quarterback's comfortable and building confidence and all that. But, what if Mercer comes out and scores 27 points? What does that mean? So there's a lot.
I mean, if that happens, that's a whole and then yes, we have a whole different conversation that we need to have.
Not happening.
If that defense, with that defensive line, if they come out and give up 27, then yeah, that's going to open up a whole other conversation about the defense. I mean,
I guess what's a win for the Auburn defense this weekend? You guys think?
14 or less.
Yeah, I think so. 14, 17 or less. I mean, and it depends on the Auburn offense. If the game's out of hand, how many guys get in on defense? Do they get to the point where they could play? Do they get to the point where they can play? Do they get to the point where they can play third stringers or whatever? Or how does that look? But if you're Auburn's defense, and first of all, that group better be pretty damn close to elite. If they're going to try to exceed expectations this year, they don't have to be Georgia last year. I'm not saying that, but you better be a top 15 group nationally if you're going to exceed expectations 8+ this year. That group has to be there. The offense has got a ceiling. We can talk about TJ Finley all we want, how maybe he's going to be, however good he can be, whatever. There's a ceiling to whatever that offense is going to be able to do this year. The defense can be a lot better. The defense is going to have to live up to that. And Mercer, 14, 17 points. The defensive line of Auburn, if they can't go out against FCS and just dominate the line of scrimmage and just make life hell for a team like Mercer, then they're not the group we thought they were. Colby Wooden could be a first-round pick. Derek Hall could be a second-round pick. Marcus Harris is going to play in the NFL. Iku Leota is going to play in the NFL. If they can't come out, Jason Jones, if they can't come out and own the line of scrimmage against Mercer to the point where those are guys like we just can't do a whole lot, then I think we have a much different conversation on our hands.
Go ahead, Cole. Real quick. The 14 points is at the end of the game. I think the first team defense by the end of the third quarter, one score or less.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing that Mercer scored all those points last week because when you're playing an FCS opponent, you might kind of just cruise right in there mentally. And so they scored all those points, and that's a little bit of an attention getter. And these guys don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be embarrassed. So I think the focus ratchets up a notch or two or three. And so you're right. You guys are right. I think hopefully you're going to see just a dominant performance from the Auburn defense. There's always those first few series that there's sometimes a little bit of an adjustment period, but Yeah, I think that the fact that Mercer did all that last week, and again, it was against Morehead State, but still, if Mercer wins that game 28-14, nobody's even talking about them. Well, now people are talking about them. They're thinking about them. Hey, could they score against Auburn? And so I think that wakes you up a little bit and probably helps with your preparation and focus, which is hard. It's hard against those FCS teams when you're Auburn. There's no question, because we've seen Jacksonville State, Mercer almost go into Jordan-Hare Stadium and win.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about that Mercer game a couple of years ago is that was, I think, it looks like that was maybe 3 weeks into the year. I don't know who Auburn played to start that season, but it could have been a deal where you're playing a team like Mercer 3 weeks in versus game one. Game one with this team, with this mentality, that they know that they're picked last. I think there's a different attitude coming in week one of just, I don't care who you put, whoever out there, I'm fired up. I'm going to treat whoever you throw out there like Alabama. It's game one. And hopefully that changes their mentality a little bit versus playing in week three. That 17 team thinks they're going to be rolling. You come in there and you come.
Well, Auburn had actually just lost to Clemson the week before, 14-6.
Which was not pretty.
That wasn't pretty. So self-doubt had started to creep into the heads. Remember, they had a first-year offensive coordinator, Chip Lindsey. Didn't look great really in the opener against Georgia Southern. They won that 41-7, but wasn't anything special. Go to Clemson. Stidham gets sacked, I don't know, 33 times or whatever it was.
Times, I think.
Self-doubt, offensive line struggling, new quarterback, hadn't found his groove yet, first-year offensive coordinator trying to get on the same page as Gus. But still, that game could have gone either way with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
And then like a week or two later, they go to LSU and they're trouncing them. And then, of course, we all know what happened in that game. But how quickly that 17 team started to find their groove. Defensively, and we don't talk a lot about defense just because that line should be so good. I'm a little concerned about the linebackers. I'm not going to lie. I think Owen Pappoe is going to have a fantastic season. Like Owen Pappoe behind that defensive line should he should ball out. But I like Cam Riley. The kid looks the part, but he hasn't played a lot. Neither is Wesley Steiner. You got Asante coming in from North Carolina. So like beyond Pappoe, there's still a lot that I want to see from the linebackers. The secondary will be fine. There's enough good athletes there they're not going to lock anybody down. You don't have a Roger McCreary. You don't have Carlton Davis. I don't think they're locking people down, especially not in this day and age, but they're athletic enough that I think they'll take advantage of some things that the defensive line does. I think they'll take advantage of some plays, maybe get some interceptions and things like that based on pressure. But the linebackers is where I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned, but it's just a group past Pappoe. What are you getting there? He can't make all the tackles. And so I'm curious to see, can Cam Riley be that guy? Can he be that physical enforcer? Can he develop into a stud? He could. I just don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I have the same concern with the linebackers, just inexperience, and when those guys have been in the game, I've watched them real close, and Steiner I thought was going to be a little bit more of a physical presence, and he wasn't quite that until maybe the Houston game where he showed out a little bit physically, and I don't know how they're going to handle that with playing a lot more snaps and being in pressure situations. I think defensive line, what you were talking about, Justin, they're going to have a little bit more pressure on them because Mercer's sort of identity, at least in the first game, was we're trying to run the football. They didn't really throw it that many times. They had big plays throwing it, but they were trying to run it, and had over 350 yards rushing or something like that. So the defensive line they have a clear size advantage over Mercer's offensive line. Mercer's offensive line averages like under 290 is from what I could tell. So definitely smaller. You've got to win the line of scrimmage and help those linebackers get a little bit comfortable. Looking at the offense, knowing what they're seeing, being able to go and make tackles in space and at the line of scrimmage. And if that happens, the defense could get some confidence going into week 2 and then hopefully play better, play good there and then have some confidence going into Penn State too. And confidence is what the defense needs, in my opinion, because I think the talent is better on that side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. You talk about what I'm excited to see, that front four of Auburn. I really think they're going to be good. Colby, Derek Hall, Eku.
Yeah. Pass rush would be good.
I really expect that front four to wreak havoc. I really do. And if they don't, then I feel like they're underachieving.
Yep. And Jeff, if they wreak havoc, maybe we'll see what we haven't seen in a while. And that's an Auburn defense that forces a lot of turnovers, flips the field.
Yeah.
So, those last few years under Kevin Steele, look, the defense was fantastic. I'm not going to sit here and criticize the defense, but they had a ton of stops, but a lot of those stops were the other team would get 3 first downs. Mm-hmm. Then you'd stop them. Then they'd punt. You'd be starting at your own 14-yard line. And since we don't know if Auburn's offense is going to have any explosive ability this year, we just don't know yet. What would help that offense are shorter fields, and turnovers provide that. Can this defense with Colby Wooden, Eku Leota, Derek Hall putting pressure, Jason Jones, if he can be 80% of what Jimmy Brumbaugh thinks he can be, then that's another guy that can get in there and wreak havoc, force turnovers. The linebackers are fast and physical. I think the secondary is going to be really good. I think Jalen Simpson plays on Sundays. I think Keontae Scott, based on early reviews, plays on Sundays. Nehemiah Pritchett's got the speed. He's probably going to play on Sundays. To me, one of the big question marks on defense is can Owen Popo, who's been hurt here and there, can he stay healthy? Jalen Simpson, who's been hurt more than once at Auburn, can he stay healthy? Because I don't think they've got a ton of depth. But, Jeff, you're right. If that defensive line is as good as they think it can be and is getting pressure, getting in the backfield, disruption, then you're going to force turnovers. We could see defensive touchdowns. That changes games. Auburn's going to be looking for points, man. Hard to win when you only score 20. They're going to be looking for points any way they can get, and they're going to be looking for shorter fields. And if that happens, then that's something really a lot of people aren't talking about. That means 350 yards is the same as 450 yards of offense, basically. Where are you getting the ball and what you can do with it, as opposed to having to go 86 yards every series, which is just, if you don't have the big plays, you just can't do that on offense. It's too much to ask. So they're going to need the defense to create turnovers.
Right.
Man, it makes you ready. Like next week when we do this, we'll actually be talking about real data.
I feel like Justin's going to put on that helmet and smash his head into the wall.
I need to see an orange face mask on that thing.
Yeah. I know. I need to hit my boy up, Clint. I need to get an orange face mask.
They going to wear the orange face mask this year? What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah. White and orange. They'll do them both. I wouldn't be shocked if he brings white out home. I mean, he clearly isn't worried about what traditionalists think about that. So.
No.
You know what they ought to do for Penn State? White helmet, no logo. Why they ought to just kind of do it, kind of just really throw Penn State for a loop there. You know what I mean? But you'd have to practice any big helmet change. And Cole, you played, but any big helmet or jersey change is a challenge. Remember Georgia a few years ago against in the cocktail party used the black helmets, so they look like Grambling out there. Well, if you're not practicing with a black helmet, it's probably got to be a little bit of a mind bender trying to figure out where to throw the ball out there, and what are you running toward and all that stuff. So I don't know. Y'all think they'll ever do anything major with the helmet or just the face mask? Is that it?
No, just the face
mask. I just think it's the face mask, which I love the orange. I think the orange looks pretty cool. It's kind of I think the traditionalists are better with the orange because they actually used an orange face mask at one time. So
what about the orange top?
Wear orange against Penn State.
Any chance with the orange top making a comeback?
I don't know.
October surprise.
I think those are ugly. Like I don't. Everybody wants to see that. I don't like. To me, it doesn't look good. But that's just. I mean, who is it? You look like UT Martin, right? Don't they have Auburn's basically exact jerseys, but they wear orange? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
Seriously, orange jerseys with the white pants would look like shit.
It would. It would
look awful.
Yeah.
That's why Auburn quit wearing orange jerseys. It looked awful.
I wouldn't mind seeing them wear the white on white every game if that was possible. I think that when Auburn wears the all white, I don't think anybody in college football looks better than that.
What they need to do is they need to wear a white face mask at home and see how that looks, and then maybe wear an orange one away and see how. Maybe that's what'll happen this year. Maybe they can mix it up and wear an orange one away one game and wear the white at home one game.
when they've made changes to the helmet, they put Pat Sullivan's number 7 on the helmet. They lost that game, right? When they did that, they lost that game.
That's the one. Yeah,
okay. I love that helmet. I love what a tribute. But then when they lost that game. Then when they did the white face mask at Penn State, they lost that game. Were there any other changes last year? I can't even remember.
They wore orange against Ole Miss. They won, and then they wore orange against Alabama, and they lost. But I think Alabama probably had something to do with that.
Yes. So do you get superstitious at any point, or just a little stitious?
No, just keep doing it. If you do it enough, then it just goes away. You just win, and you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, you don't make it you don't make it a special deal.
Yeah.
But then you'll have people keeping score.
What about black shoes? You think they'll go back to that?
I love
you guys like that.
The 04 with the black shoes and the black spackle. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. The ankle tape.
Yeah, they busted that out. 0304 looks strong. Actually,
I said spackle because I'm redoing the bathroom.
They busted that out. Listen, they busted that out in 2002, Penn State, the bowl game. They busted out black cleats in that bowl game, and against a really good Penn State team. And Ronnie Brown ran for like 180, and they beat a top 10 Penn State team. That 2002 team did. I thought that was a good look. But the players love these orange cleats now. They have these orange and white ones now that they freaking love.
Well, I mean,
they're a good look.
This day and age, you're not going to see this day and age. You know, they're not just going to go with a solid black cleat. Probably they got to be flashy. That's the thing now. You know, I'm the youngest guy here, but I'm a traditionalist.
At least it's all the same. Back in the day, you would have like Auburn would be wearing like Russell jerseys. They'd be wearing like New Balance shoes. They'd be wearing like, Nike underneath that they'd have to mark out or some shit. Like, I mean, it would be they couldn't figure it. They couldn't figure it.
I want to see that next apparel contract when it comes out. I want to see Auburn. I want to see Auburn just kind of shock the world. No, pony, something like that. Just totally something that's nobody's thinking, and just say,
hey, there's some real momentum behind Adidas in Auburn for real.
Adidas.
Go away from Under Armour when that thing's up. Go Adidas.
What you do? You fly in Run DMC for the intro. You have them break it out.
I think Adidas makes terrible football jerseys. I think they suck. Like the way that we're getting down a path, but to me, like they're stretched. Half the time, the names are like the letters are off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been impressed with their football game.
Yeah, Adidas, to me, Adidas and Under Armour have two. And now, obviously, as a school, you control what you want the jersey to look like. But a lot of the Under Armour jerseys have too many weird stripes in places that I don't think you need stripes. You know what I mean? I like the simple, clean look, and that's why I love that Auburn hasn't let Under Armour designers just go nuts with what they do.
Oh my God! They changed when they changed the back plate when the name it was like I don't know what year 06 Under Armour took over and the names became like a little smaller.
The font size was 12.
Yeah. Everybody freaked out.
It was awful. It was terrible.
So is it, Justin, is it kind of one of those things that you think that Auburn wants Adidas more than Nike because of the identity, of Alabama being Nike already, or you know what I mean? Or what is it just a matter of money? What was,
Could be. I mean, it could be a Nike, just say, let's not go Nike. It could be. I mean, but Adidas also could, I don't know. Nike doesn't need Auburn like maybe Adidas might. I don't know. Adidas might throw them a good package.
That'd be a big
great for basketball. Basketball, that's a step up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think Adidas is sort of maybe one of those trending, brands right now too. Because these high school games I've been going to, I've seen a lot of Adidas cleats out there.
100%.
A lot of Adidas gear.
Yes, you're exactly right. Adidas football, basketball overall, like Adidas is skyrocketing. So in terms of young kids, like it would be a smart move if Auburn went that direction.
Whoever they sign up with, and I'm going on and on here on this stuff, but I'm really, people know I'm friends with Nick Brom's dad. Okay, so I get to see him wear all the gear that Nick gives him, and there's so much cool. Like I'm always taking shots at Under Armour, but I don't see the cool stuff. He's got all this cool stuff. You can't buy it anywhere. Yeah. It just goes to the players. So whoever the new contract is with, I'd like it to be where, hey, they've got something really cool, and I can go get it if I want it, or you can go get it. Yeah. Right now, you go into the store at Dick's Sporting Goods or wherever, some of the Auburn shops, and you don't see a lot of the cool stuff that the players wear, and that's kind of bothersome. So hopefully, whoever is with, you know what I mean. Hopefully, the deal. I'm trying to buy gifts for friends, family, all that stuff, and I can hardly ever find anything I like. But then I see the players walk out there and they got the coolest crap you've ever seen. So, you know, I don't. Yeah. I used to think it was Under Armour. I think it's just that they get the good stuff and everybody else gets the leftovers, I guess.
Was Andre Agassi Adidas back in the day?
Oh no, he was. Wasn't he a big Nike guy at first?
I remember seeing him on the Bo commercial, but so that would have made him Nike. I don't know why I thought he was Adidas.
He was, dude. He was like the first tennis player that came out with a shoe.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I actually got to
that like weird looking. It was sweet. It was sweet looking.
I actually got to go really off track here, but I got to go to Vegas when I used to cover pro tennis and spend several hours with Agassi, and just me and him, and he was about the coolest dude you'd ever want to meet. Now this was Agassi at 34 years old, and not 16 when he was apparently a real jerk. But yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, I think he was all Nike. You're right.
No, he was with.
He had the jean shorts. The jean tennis.
He was with Adidas for a period of time. He was with both. He was with Nike. He was with Nike for a long time. Then he went to Adidas, because maybe Nike refused to donate to one of his charities. I don't know if that's true. And Adidas was more than happy. So he went to Adidas and then he went back to Nike at some point. So there was a stretch where he was with Adidas.
I thought it might be because he became irrelevant.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, Agassi was never irrelevant, and then he married Steffi Graf, so maybe I don't know who her shoe company was.
Dude, listen, anybody that thought Brooke Shields was hot, did he marry Brooke Shields?
Well, he dated Barbara Streisand. I mean, he was a true.
That's the ugliest woman I've ever seen.
He was a true transcendent celebrity. You know what I mean? They date other celebrities. That's what they do.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right. He did. Barbara Streisand.
Yeah.
Wow. In the 90s.
So Jeff, if Barbara Streisand called you up 5 years ago and she's got her $80 million Malibu house, you wouldn't let her fly you out there to hang out there for the weekend?
Dude, I would. No.
She was 28 years older than him.
Jeez.
And
I'm learning.
He was married to Brooke Shields for 3 years, and then he married Steffi Graf.
Steffi Graf those are three ugly women right there. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't get the Steffi Graf. Barbara Streisand, that's insane. I didn't know that. Jeez.
Dude, that is a wall of shame right there.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say there were probably a few dozen supermodels thrown in there too.
Not according to his taste. No, dude.
He's hiding the good-looking ones and then promoting the not good-looking.
Oh man. Anyway, Auburn to Adidas. It sounds like it would be an interesting thing.
I think it's real. Yeah.
Now, Pete Sanchez has some damn good-looking women now.
Pete Sanchez?
Sampras?
Sampras? That's what I said.
Who the hell is Pete Sanchez?
Pete Sanchez was an amazing tennis player. One of the greatest.
He has some hot models now.
What about Fred Montana?
Hey, you know who he was married to? Sampras was married to what's her name? She was in Happy Gilmore.
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison. Yeah, what's her name? Brooke?
No.
Bridget Wilson.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It was in Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great character. Didn't like Billy at first, but then when she realized how rich he was, all of a sudden really fell in love with him. I guess she saw him for his inner self as the movie developed there.
Oh, yeah, right.
Now, Pete Sanchez.
Pete Sanchez. I mean,
I don't think Justin knows yet.
Pete Sanchez. No, I know. I'm kidding.
Oh, us too. I really knew his name.
Yeah, it was a joke. It was an elaborate joke.
Oh my God.
Curly hair. What do we need to do? Do we need to do predictions here before we get out of here?
Sure.
All right.
Auburn Mercer predictions. Score predictions. I hate score predictions, but screw it. Let's just do
it. I got you.
Who wants to go first? I'll go first. I'll go first. I'll take the bullet here. I'll say Auburn wins this game 40-13. No, 40-10.
Okay. I got you 41-17. Mercer scores the late fourth quarter touchdown that just enough to cover. 41-17.
I will go 45-10. I'm thinking 10 for Mercer as well, Justin. That was what I was thinking. But I'll go 45-10.
Now I have them at 10 too now. They're just going to score a late touchdown against the reserves.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I got a 44-16 Auburn. I think maybe one touchdown, maybe a few field goals. Well, no, Justin, weird scores, come up. And so,
yeah.
Auburn maybe puts some backups in the game, puts the ball on the field. Mercer gets an extra field goal, something like that. So 44-16. We'll say.
I was thinking field goals as well with 45.
If they go if they hit, I don't remember what Coles was. If they go to mine, there's gonna be a lot of upset bettors. 40-10. If somebody loses this bet by a point and a half, that's gonna be tough. So maybe
no doubt.
Maybe 42-10. But yeah, I think it'll. Who are you excited to see? Who's one guy that you're excited to see for Auburn, offense, defense, that you just want to see this first game? We just want to see him in a uniform. You want to see him out there running, whatever it is. You want to see this guy in action.
I'll do
offense and defense.
Yeah, I got two.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, my two on offense is Tavares Dawson. I just want to see him. We saw like maybe 3 snaps of him last year, and now he's pretty much going to be a part of the offense. So I'm ready to see how fast he is, if he's got his hands improved, all that stuff. On defense, is Caden Bridges. I've just heard a lot of good things about him, and he's taken over. He's sort of taken over where Smoke Monday left off back there. Maybe it's not the same exact position, but taking over where he left off for so many years, 3 years playing there. I want to see how he steps in. Caden Bridges.
All right, I'll go Tavares Dawson on offense too, because again, I'm trying to figure out where those big plays are going to come from. Yeah. Who's going to have 4 or 5, 60, 50, 60-yard plays this season. And so I want to see if he's, can he be that guy, or just a guy that can make good yardage after catch like Ryan Davis was that senior year, that last year. Just fantastic. I think that was 2017. On defense, I'm going to say Jason Jones, the defensive tackle. We've heard so many good things about him, but Auburn really didn't recruit him that hard out of high school. I can't remember. Was he committed to Bama at one time?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, he was.
And ended up at, they kind of went in another direction, I believe, and he ended up at Oregon. And there were concerns that he was maybe too tall to play tackle. Could he, not that he didn't have the athleticism, he did, but could he keep his pad level low? Could he be disciplined? Was he tough enough physically? Was he tough enough mentally? He didn't start at Oregon, and yet he's got a lot of people thinking he's going to be really good. So that's a kind of guy that if Auburn's going to be what Auburn can be, he can't just be a guy. He's got to be the dude. He's got to be a dude. Okay,
a force.
Those are my two guys.
I'll go Camden Brown. I got 2 guys that are second teamers, but I feel like they're going to get a lot of playing time. Camden Brown on offense. You talk about Keith, that big play wide receiver, that red zone 50-50 guy that can go up and get the ball. I think Camden Brown provides that for Auburn. A lot of good stuff from Justin. I've heard him, in practice and insiders. I think Camden Brown. Hell, he's a true freshman, and he's on the 2 deep, if I'm not mistaken, in the top 6. So I want to see Camden Brown, and I love the kid. I'm a big fan. So definitely him. On defense, I want to see Keontae Scott, another second teamer. but I feel like he's going to get a lot of playing time. I want to see how good he is because, man, like he said, we've heard rave reviews about this kid who's only been here for, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's in the 2 deep. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So I want to see what the fuss is about with Keontae Scott. I want to see Camden Brown live up to what a lot of people think can be some high expectations for him.
Yeah, those are 2 good picks. Yeah, Scott's the backup corner. He might be the backup nickel, and he's the backup punt returner. Shows you what kind of athlete he is. We talked to – so, by the way, Jason Jones, real quick, I didn't follow his recruitment. He was asked – we talked to him earlier this week, and I won't say who. He was asked to talk about how he ended up at Oregon. And he said, well, can you rephrase it or something like that? And the guy was like – and the person that asked him the question said, you know, what took you to Oregon? What was the journey? Why did you end up going to Oregon? And he didn't want to talk about it. He didn't answer the question. He goes, you know, that's a really long answer, and I'd rather just kind of not talk about it. And I didn't know because I was out of the game a little bit, so I didn't know what that was about. And of course, Keith, you just kind of hinted at it. Whatever happened, it was just an interesting answer. He didn't really want to go into it. So I don't know if
that's surprising. That's surprising. He's a pleasant guy to interview, man.
Yeah,
he really is. I like him a lot. Yeah.
That tells me that he didn't want to lie to you, but he didn't want to go through the real truth of it all. And
whatever it was. Yeah. But seems really happy to be home. I would go offensively. I would go. I want to see Dawson. To be different, I'll say Coy Moore. And let's see what he's all about. I think if you just put the receivers on the table and just pick a guy for one season or one game right now, I might pick Coy Moore. Now, if you told me pick a guy I'd like to start a career with, Camden Brown maybe, but Coy Moore might be the best receiver right now, like all around best receiver. I'm curious to see what he does, how they use him. You know, can he get down the field? Is he a deep guy? Is he an over the middle guy? He's going to be used some on some jet sweeps and stuff, so he's got really good speed. So I want to see Coy Moore, like what he can be for that offense. And then defensively, let's go. I don't know. I mean, I guess Caden Bridges is a good one. I'll say Cam Riley. I just want to see a 6'5", 6'4", 230-pound linebacker playing like that. I want to see him play like his size. I want to see if that dude's, you know, wreaking havoc. If he's coming up and impossible to block, and is he good in the pass game? Is he covering running backs or tight ends? I want to see what that guy's all about because, man, if he can be at that size, if he can keep developing, like how good could he be, and what could he bring to a defense with that ability? So we'll say Cam Riley and Coy Moore for me. Yeah,
I like the Cam Riley. I've really not paid him. I haven't given him the respect yet as a recruit or as a player.
I mean, you know,
we'd love to see a Carlos Dansby out there.
Yeah, and that's really like I went back and looked, and Dansby's the only linebacker that comes to mind when you're talking about Cam Riley. They've had some big guys like Josh Bynes was pretty heavy. Craig Stevens was a pretty big linebacker.
Yeah.
But really Dansby's the only comparison height and weight wise. It's really just Carlos in probably 2003 when he had bulked up. They haven't had anybody like Cam since then. So that'll be interesting to see. All right. I think it was the first good modcast of the season.
Yeah.
I think it went well.
Kick the dust off. Yeah.
Yeah, keep the dust off. We'll try to do this every Thursday. We'll get this on Thursday, and then of course Friday is our big, you know, War Room and Rob Pate column, and that's kind of the day to just sort of get you hyped up. And Thursday we'll try to make the day that we put the modcast out just to kind of get you to the weekend. First half is real busy with football and recruiting, and then the last half is kind of some analysis and stuff like that. So we'll kind of keep going that direction. Look forward to seeing everybody at the game Saturday. Should be fun just to get back out there and talk about football. And actual X and O's things happening. It'll be a lot of fun against Mercer, 6 o'clock SEC Network, I think. Full coverage on auburnlive.com afterwards. And so we'll have you covered there. Recruiting, is it a big recruiting weekend or no?
Nah, probably a lot of underclassmen.
Okay,
but we'll see. We'll know a lot more tomorrow. Check out the War Room. We'll have a better idea what's going on. But no, I don't expect a big 2023 weekend.
Yeah, I guess Penn State will kind of be kicking off the season in that regard, probably with kids.
A couple of guys next week for San Jose State. Jamarian Harkless is coming in for an official visit. Maybe have another one added soon. But another one, it's kind of on the upper trajectory. Mercer's going to be kind of flat. San Jose State's going to be a little better, and then Penn State's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, make sure you check it out, auburnlive.com. Free week trial, as always. Come join the community, and we'll be back next week with another podcast. See ya.